evening, America. This is Jordan Leung with your nightly global update. There has always been trouble in Egypt. Theft, murder, even rape. But earlier today, a British tourist, Sir Branford Winston Worth, was in Egypt when he found three men, lying face down in gutter downtown Cairo. He was walking down the street when he saw the men and immediately told local authorities. However, instead of investigating the bodies, the police ignored Winstonworth and threatened to deport him. And now to William Hanford, who is on the scene in Cairo with Winstonworth. William, how are things down there?
Okay. Well, Joel, I'm in the capital city, Cairo, with Sir Winstonworth. Mind you, he only speaks Arabic, so it's going to be pretty difficult to understand him in his story. But we have a translator on staff ready to translate it. Now, tell me about the events leading up to the finding of the bodies.
Okay, then I was walking, and mind you, it was a very busy street. I noticed that people around me were oddly silent and avoiding one section of the street. So I went over there to investigate, and what did I find? Guess. There were bodies everywhere. Actually, only 3, but still. Can you imagine that, William?
Alright. No, sir, I cannot. How did you perceive once you found the bodies?
Well, I knew something was strange, because everyone around me seemed to be ignoring the bodies, so I knew something was suspicious. I didn't stop to inspect the bodies, but went straight to the police. However, I was ignored, told if I was to look further into the topic, I would be deported. Can you imagine that, William? It would just be awful. Just god awful.
No, I cannot, Sir Winstonworth. No, I cannot. Now, well, ladies and gents, it's looking grim in Cairo. Back to you, Jordan.
This terrible event is not the first of Egypt's problems. The origin of Egypt's problems goes back all the way to the age of imperialism. The problem originated with Muhammad Ali and his dynasty back in 1850. During his reign, Ali spent extensive amounts of money industrializing Egypt, and soon he could not afford to pay for Suez Canal. He then had to sell his shares to Britain and France, allowing Britain to establish an economic control over Egypt. This started a series of weak Egyptian governments during which Egypt was essentially ruled by Britain, who had complete control of Egypt's commerce. Over time, Egypt witnessed many revolts, but none of which was successful at driving the British out of Egypt until 1922, when Britain gave Egypt independence following a revolt that was started when Britain exiled the Egyptian Nationalist Party leader Saad Zaghloul. We now go to Egyptian historian Maximilian Humphreys in Alexandria in Egypt. Professor, please tell us about October War.
In 1970, Anwar Sadat took power and switched Egypt's allegiance to the United States, throwing out Soviet advisors too. Sadat joined Syria in the October War, which was an attack against Israel. The goal was to retake the Sinai Peninsula. In 1981, Nasser was assassinated and succeeded by Hosni Mubarak. The rebound effects of a strong central government was that Mubarak became a controlling dictator who rules by fear and militaristic power. In 2003, movements were created to promote democratic reforms, and in January 2011, Mubarak was forced to step down via popular protest.
Wow, thank you, Professor. Now we go to Answar for some statistics on Egypt. Take it away, Sean.
Here in Egypt, many statistics are quite ridiculous, such that only 59% of all women are illiterate, and that unemployment is at an alarming 9.7%. But if one would look deeper into this dry place, one would see that education is worse than meets the eye. Only 5% of the population is enrolled in secondary school, while only 1% is enrolled in tertiary school. This lack of education may explain the horrible 20% living under the poverty line and the already told unemployment rate. Back to you, Jordan.
This ignorance among the people may be the reason why unjust torture has run so rampant in Egypt in recent years. Now we go back to William Hanford in Cairo, where he has investigated the many torture cases in Egypt. Take it away, William.
A worthy storytelling is the one of Habib. Habib was arrested in mid-September of 2001 because he was unjustly accused of being involved with Al-Qaeda. Habib has been secretly taken to Egypt, where he would spend the next 7 months being tortured and abused under Egyptian officials. Habib was electrocuted, beaten, starved, and clubbed during his captivity. Throughout his 7 months captivity, he was kept in an unmarked warehouse in a windowless room with a small chair and a stone floor. Habib's story is just one of many reported cases of torture in Egypt. It is estimated by some that President Hosni Mubarak has had over 1,000 people kidnapped and tortured, and that these offenses began as far back as 1990. People every day are dragged off the streets and either never heard of again or come back changed. It is very hard to get an exact torture account of victims because people are too scared to talk about their imprisonment, as anyone who reveals it and accuses the government of crimes also disappears. The few reported cases of torture reveal horrifying news. Many people are starved and raped, as well as having their fingernails ripped off and being burned alive.
Well, this concludes the Egyptian special for tonight. Stay tuned tomorrow for discussion about effectiveness of depth charges and von Schlieffen plan. Thank you for listening. You've been wonderful audience. Thank you. Good night, America.
From Cairo. Good night, America.
Good night, America.
Done. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.